Yes, the great King Adewale and Queen Moronike of Iloyo longed for a child, but the gods remained silent. Queen Moronike would take in, but 3 months down the line, she would lose the pregnancy. The royal family felt they had been struck by a mysterious curse. Healers, diviners, and priests were summoned from distant lands. Yet none could explain why the queen's womb couldn't hold the heirs. In Iloyo, whispers of doubt and fear spread like wildfire. Some believed the gods had turned their back on the kingdom. Others claimed the queen had offended the spirits of the ancestors. The king, though mighty in battle, was powerless against this unseen force. But Queen Moronike refused to surrender to despair. Every night, she prayed to Oshun, the goddess of fertility, offering prayers and sacrifices. "Bless my womb, O great mother," she pleaded, "and I shall dedicate my child to you." One fateful night, as the queen wept beside the river, an old woman wrapped in white appeared from the mist. Her eyes held the wisdom of ages, and her voice was soft as flowing water. "Your suffering is known to the gods," she said. "The child which you carry will be born, but she will not be like others. She will bring light where there is darkness, and her birth will change the destiny of Iloyo forever." Before the queen could speak, the old woman placed a golden cowrie shell in her hand. "When the time comes, cast this into the river, and the child shall be born." Then, like mist before the morning sun, she vanished. Queen Moronike rushed back to the palace, clutching the shell to her chest. But deep in her hand, she wondered, what did the woman mean by the child will not be like others? On the first night of the new moon, a great storm swept across the kingdom. The sky roared with thunder, and the palace trembled under the force of the winds. It was then that Queen Moronike remembered the old woman's words. With trembling hands, she walked to the river and cast the golden cowrie shell into the swirling waters. At that moment, the storm ceased, and a calm silence fell upon the land. Then, months later, Queen Moronike gave birth to a daughter, Nyara. She was unlike any child the kingdom had ever seen. Her eyes gleamed like stars, and when she cried, it was as though the earth itself listened. The Ifa priests gathered, casting divination beads to read her fate. Their voice trembled as they spoke. "This child is touched by the gods. She will bring fortune, but also trials." From the moment she was born, prosperity returned to Iloyo. The rivers overflowed with fish. The fields bore abundant harvests, and the kingdom grew stronger than ever before. The people whispered that Nyara was a child of the gods, sent to restore balance of the land. Merchants who once feared famine now traveled far and wide, bringing their treasures from distant lands. Warriors returned victorious from battles, claiming that luck followed them whenever Nyara smiled. But with great fortune came great envy. In the shadows of the palace, some questioned the girl's true nature. No one knows where she truly came from. The elders whispered, "Perhaps she is not a blessing, but a test from the gods." The Ogboni Council, the secretive elders who had long advised the king, grew uneasy. They had seen many rulers rise and fall, and they did not trust miracles. To them, power was not given, it was taken. "This girl will one day rule," they muttered among themselves. "And if she does, the balance of power will shift." The idea of a queen with divine favor unsettled them. If the gods had chosen Nyara, what need was there for the Ogboni? Baba Ajaka, a fierce warlord and a trusted general of the king, listened to their whispers. He had always believed that a kingdom should be ruled by strength, not fate. And so, the seed of rebellion was sown. On Nyara's 15th birthday, the Ifa priests visited the palace. The priest fell to his knees in terror. "Danger is coming," he cried. "Fire and betrayal will follow Nyara." The king dismissed his fears, but deep in his heart, he could not ignore the weight of his words. That night, as he looked upon his daughter, a shadow of doubt crept into his soul. When Nyara was 20, darkness fell upon the kingdom. A deadly sickness swept the life of the king Adewale. His death shattered the hearts of the people, for he had been a beloved ruler. Queen Moronike, though grief-stricken, held on to hope. She knew that one day Nyara would rise to lead. But the Ogboni Council saw an opportunity in the king's passing. They declared that the kingdom needed a male ruler, someone strong enough to defend Ilu-Oyo. And so, Baba Ajaka stepped forward, claiming the throne for himself. The gods had already chosen their ruler, and destiny would not be denied, said the priests. Queen Nyara ruled the great kingdom of Ilu-Oyo, and the people lived under her great wisdom. She was not born into royalty, but was chosen by the gods when the former king, her father, died without a male heir. The Ifa priest prophesied Nyara was the chosen one by the gods. Her reign was peaceful and prosperous. The land flourished, the river flowed with abundance, and the markets bustled with traders from distant lands. But not everyone was pleased. The Ogboni Council, a secret society of powerful elders, resented being ruled by a woman. They whispered amongst themselves, plotting her downfall. In the shadows, the warlord Baba Ajaka, who had once hoped to take the throne, listened to these whispers. He had waited for this moment, for he believed that the kingdom should be ruled by a man. Together, they devised a plan that would shake Ilu-Oyo to its core. As the sun dipped below horizon, the Arokin, the royal messenger, arrived at the palace with urgent news. The high priest of Shango had declared that the gods were angry. The crops were failing, and strange storm had been seen in the skies. The people feared the disaster that was coming. Nyara called her council together. "We must seek the wisdom of the gods," she said. "Let us offer sacrifices and find out what must be done." But the Ogboni elders had already spread their lies. They stood before the people and declared, "The gods are angry because a woman sits on the throne. Only fire will reveal the truth." The people murmured in fear. No one dared to question the gods. The trial by fire, a sacred test of innocence, had not been used for generations. If Nyara refused, she would be seen as guilty. If she agreed and failed, she would burn. The choice was no choice at all. Word spread across the kingdom like harmattan wind. Queen Nyara must walk through the fire of Shango. If she was innocent, she would survive. If she was guilty, she would perish and a new king would be chosen. The people gathered in the village square before the Shango's shrine, their faces filled with fear and sorrow. Mothers held their children close. The elders watched with cold eyes, certain that their plan would succeed. Babi Jaka stood near the front, his arms crossed, waiting to see the queens fall. Nyara stood tall, dressed in ashoke, the royal fabric woven with gold. She looked at her people, the same people she had protected, and saw the doubt in their eyes. She clenched her fist. If the gods are truly just, they will not let lies destroy me. With her heart steady, she stepped forward. The priest lit the fire, and the flames roared to life, leaping into the sky like hungry spirits. The ground trembled as the heat spread. The air smelled of burning wood and sacred oils. The time had come. The chief priest raised his staff and called out, "If the queen is innocent, let the fire spare her. If she is guilty, let it consume her." The crowd held its breath. The only sound that was heard was the cracking of the fire. Nyara took a deep breath and stepped forward. The heat was unbearable, yet she did not flutter. The flames curled round her feet, licking at her skin. The people grasped, expecting her to scream, but Nyara did not burn. Instead, the flames began to whisper. The fire died down, leaving Nyara standing tall and unscathed. The chief priest turned to the elders, his voice heavy with anger. "You have deceived the people. You have stolen from the gods. The punishment for such crime is death." Baba Ajake tried to run, but the elders seized him. The people, now realizing the truth, began to shout, "Punish the wicked! Long live Queen Nyara!" The elders were stripped of their titles, and Baba Ajaka was banished from Iloyo, never to return. Nyara stepped forward, her voice strong and clear. "This kingdom belongs to the people. Never again shall lies rule over truth." She raised her arms, and the people cheered. Justice had been served. From that day forward, Nyara was known as Iyaba Ena, the Queen of Fire. Her name became a symbol of resilience and divine justice. Mothers told their daughters her story, and fathers taught their sons never to let greed rule their hearts. The kingdom of Iloyo flourished under her rule. The markets were filled with goods, the rivers overflowed with fish, and peace returned to the land. The Ogboni Council was reformed, ensuring that no leader would ever misuse their power again. And so, whenever a woman faced injustice, she would whisper Nyara's name, knowing that fire does not destroy the worthy, it only makes them stronger.